If you are looking for a deeper understanding of yourself and the universe, you've been drawn to the right place. Today, the topic that's on my mind and that we're going to elaborate on is grief. I think that we all experience grief. Sometimes it can be intense, the loss of a loved one. Sometimes it can be the loss of a job, the loss of a pet, the loss of an identity that you thought you were. I know I went through that after my accident, and I had to grieve, losing a life that, no longer would work and fit. And I think grief is sometimes maybe embarrassing for people to talk about, or because it shows your vulnerability, and it shows maybe people look at it as a weakness. But I do know that if you don't let grief flow through and come through and it builds up in the body, that can cause physical manifestations, with disease in the body, and can pop in different forms. So, Nirmala, I'm super fascinated to hear what you have to say on this topic, and what you've seen in your work with different case studies around grief, and how that manifests, and then how you can then work to move it out and allow the grief to kind of flow through as it was originally meant to.
Hi everyone. Welcome back again. It's always beautiful to go into specific topics that might resonate with someone. All right, thanks for that, Danielle. Okay, when it comes to grief, we all have experienced it at some point of our life, or some point in the future, or somewhere in the past. But is it something that we have to hold on for a very long time, or is it something that we need to let go? Is what the questions a lot of people ask me. How long do I have to go with this? The question is actually, how long do you want to carry the pain and the suffering? Right? Yeah, because the grief that you're talking about has already happened. It's already done. Yeah. So now it's not about the grief. I know the word grief says about the pain. It's about the letting go now. Yeah, that this has been done. You cannot go and undo it. So how am I going to now shift from that? Yeah. It gives me in memory. There's someone that I remember who was going through this a lot, and then didn't know how to let go, and then hang on to that for a very long period of time. Now, there might not be that much of geometrical drawing as such in this space, because when sadness comes in, it is like you tend to feel that everything is gone, there's nothing existing, and that's how everybody's mind, because your physical body goes into a shutdown, because your mental body is telling that this loved one is no longer with you, and the mental body takes everything from your subconscious mind, bring in the memories. It's like a thread. It's like you bring in all the reels that you can pull out, like showing you a movie. Yeah. And you bring you into that memory lane of trying to identify and understand that person is no longer existing, the person who loved you, who adored you, who was there for you. Yeah, it is definitely a painful experience. Yeah, every one of us will go through that in one point of our lifetime. Yeah, there's nobody can escape that, and we know that. And yet we learn how to be happy at the very moment, because we do have loved ones next to us right now. Yeah. And sometimes you might feel that for some people who has been, especially when we're talking about couples, in this one case study that since childhood, he knew her, and then they went through the process of their teenage life, and then they got married, and then they have children, and then they bought a house, and all these memories they had. And when somebody gets older and they pass away, somehow or other, you can see the older people, even though they grieve, they resonate with it. They kind of accept it. A lot of elderly people accept it, because the reason behind is because it's not that long for them. They're going to catch up with them. They're going to be meeting this. So they find it's a short period of time. So they come into that space pretty quickly, because I know I'm meeting her soon, or meeting him soon. When someone is young, and with young children and suddenly passing away. The grief is a little bit different. Yeah. So this gentleman, when he came to me, his face was yeah, I don't even know I'm going to justify the drawing properly, but the geometry properly. But his face was like this. Okay, so it was like this in every single way that you could think of. This is how it was. All right, you can go as small as you want, and this is how it was. Now, when I saw this, and the memory that was coming from every it was like twinkles, it's like a glitters of light coming from every end, and all he was thinking of is the memory of being with the, where he has gone to, what they were doing, sitting at home watching a TV, what was their favorite movie, and those sort of things. Everything was coming in. Yeah. But somewhere in the middle here was very beautiful to watch, which I say is beautiful because I saw the resonance of that love that we had for her. Yeah. The love is the part that holds us to allow us to grieve. So grieve, there's nothing wrong with grieving. Even when you break something that's special to you, for a moment your heart feels like, oh my God, this is something I wanted to keep for a long time, but it's broken into pieces. Yeah. So then after a while we let it go because we try to replace it or whatever. But love is something different. It's very difficult to replace, especially specific to a person. It's difficult to replace. Even not just human being. I think with pets, dogs, cats, birds, we do the same thing. It's very difficult to replace one entity to the other because we can replace the sense of it, the energy of it, that something's still running around the house, something's playing around the house, and for humans to take some time to cope and then move with someone to have another person who's supportive towards them. But it doesn't match because there's still bits and pieces that will be missing, is the personality and character that we miss so much about the person, so that will be missing in that aspect. So when I saw this gentleman, he was like, his love for this person was so beautiful, it was amazing. Yeah. So my work with him was to allow him to cry as much as possible. I know it sounds terrible, but every emotion that I could bring in, I brought it to him for him to feel it and then, kind of resonate with it, So I did, I tried to bring out all the emotions, let him talk about her a lot, about what she's done, what was something special about her and everything. And then I brought him to this space. I said that when I see deep inside in your heart, I don't see anything that's been injured, or I don't see anything that is hurt, but I see so much of love, amazing love that's vibrating, and it keeps getting bigger and bigger. The more he talks about her, I can see, I saw this going. Yeah. And then I saw whenever he talks about that, there was such amazing grounding was happening in him as well. Such amazing grounding was happening around him as well. So this is where I brought him to. So I brought him into a session. I told him to just focus on this aspect of it, nothing else, just focus on this aspect of it, that you still love her. When somebody leaves, nothing is stopping you from loving them. You don't have to stop loving her. You can continue loving her. All right. You can be in that space. There's nothing wrong about it. Right. Until you feel like, okay, she is there, nothing has changed, then you can move on. You can do whatever you need to do. Yep. But what I don't want him to do is going into this memory, not eating, not talking, not expressing, not doing his usual thing that he's supposed to do for himself or his physical body, and then completely damaging it. Because don't forget, the stress, the anxiousness, the stress, anxiety, panic, depression, all this will somehow attack your heart space. The minute it starts attacking your heart space, your brain will say, okay, the heart is weak, the heart doesn't want to resonate with anything. Okay, so we need to start doing some work in it. So now we have to start shutting down. So what do we shut down? All right, let's put in some chemicals in there so that's not balancing his body, you know. So people
Wait a
who grieve,
second. You're
sorry,
saying that in order for attention to be drawn to the area that's being neglected, like it will actually be like physically hurt so that you pay more attention. It's like a wake-up call. Is that what you're saying?
not physically hurting on that area. It can be in any space depending on what kind of emotions they're holding. Yeah.
Certain emotions like manifest in different parts of the body, or
Yeah. Yeah. It does travel to any part of your body, but it starts from your brain. Your brain is the first signal that it takes in, and then it will does do all the dwelling and flushes out what the chemical that's required for this person to now slow down. A lot of cases, depressions, and when they say their specific disease and all that, I've seen people who got into grief and all that go through cancer. All right. They go into, because it's one of the grieving part. Cancer, that means you're opening something, because human life is about experience, about bringing the light, and then there you are grieving something that is no longer here. That means you're going into a space where the body can't make an adjustment. So what happens is it start opening other. So this is where, that means the light is not touching every part of the self. There's no light touching in yourself. That means we are not having enough human form is oxygen, water, and no good supply of energy going into it. We allow the other cells to open up.
huh.
So there's a lot of inflammation that happens when somebody's going through stress, anxiety, or depression. Some of them will also have skin issues. I've seen people having scarring on their hands and their body and all that. Cancer is one thing, fibromyalgia, and I've seen so many cases, people who are kind of gone into this depression and anxiety state, and then didn't know how to come out of it and hold it for a very long time, because you're holding a dark ball, not resonating in the heart. You're holding this dark ball in yourself, and then it's like a shadow. It's like, okay, so I'm now going to block all the light in me. That's what you're doing.
Interesting.
Because the light in you asking you to express, to come out, to be in the light, because that's what light is all about, right? So you bring the dark space into yourself, and then you hide it yourself, why, and then they go into the space of why this has happened to me, why at this time, why, and why at this point of my life, and all kind of questions starts coming.
Yeah, and it starts spiraling down. I imagine when you get into that space too, like it's almost like it builds upon each other.
Yeah, it does. And then that's how, you can see sometimes, I've seen a lot of cases with different conditioning that is kind of, as you mentioned, it's like one on top of each other. Yeah. It's not just one particular organ. The several organs would doesn't reciprocate, or doesn't it's not in communication with the brain. It's not in communication with the mind. Not communication with the physical body. Yeah. So
Now,
yeah. Sorry.
well, I don't know if this is what you're saying, but what's coming to my mind, like, is this the way that our physical body then almost like alerts us to wake up to the fact that there's an issue? Like when it becomes physical, is that part of the dynamic, or that's just sort of like that's just what happens and it's not like intentional? Or is it like a cycle that almost, okay, so you blocked the light, now this is happening. It's like a wake up call to go, hello, the physical body is hurting. So we need to let go of some things. Does it happen?
Okay, so every individual is different, but when something happens, when you have to grieve, you have to grieve. Okay, still a spiritual energy. Grieving is still a spiritual energy, so you have to grieve. Yeah. So what I'm talking about here is that based on this particular person, all right, if I were to go back to him again, I can see his story was evolving in the past, because there he's now reacting everything, taking every memory of his partner from the past and trying to recreate it. Yeah. And he's allowed to do it. I'm not saying he's not allowed to, but for how long is he going to recreate it? Because while he's recreating it, he's completely going out of the zone. He is, I can see in his geometry that he's not even, his future is not even vibrating. Like he's very stuck. Yeah. So normally with grief and all that, I allow them to talk about it, allow them to cry about it, allow them to feel how they're feeling. And then I ask them to narrate the story again. Now, you believe that you are a light being. So this is how it went. So he believed that he is a light being. So resonating from that love, that much of love that he has, I find that the love is now going to be completely wiped out with sadness, and then completely wiped out with all these dark circles that I see. So all these stories are becoming dark now because she's not here. She's not here. She's not here. It's now being going into the process. You can see how the brain is working on him,
Right.
Because of the lack. Yeah. So now he has to come out of that darkness, because this is not going to help him if he stayed that for too long. So I wanted him to open up that part of that love that he was having for her. So I say, where's the love now? You're a light being. You have that love in her, but you are now putting all the darkness that she's not here. And you're completely now going to hide the light that is within you.
Mm.
So is this what you're planning to do? Yeah. And I had to go through a bit more detailed explanation with him because of, because he wanted more understanding on it. If you think that the person is left and there's no light, that light is no longer with you, you can go in this process. But you do believe that you're a spiritual being, you're a human, you came here for a human experience, and you are a light being. And you do understand light doesn't disappear, light is always there. Yeah. So do you believe she's around you? Do you believe that you sense her and feel her and all that? He says, yes, always. So and my question is, so where is she right now? Just because your physical body is kind of not unfolded and completely not unfolded, the blocked you can't see her, feel her, touch her, whatever it is. You are going to the process that this existence is not there. Do you respect that the existence was there? Yes, it was. So usually I don't do this sort of geometrical work on someone to bring you into some sort of existence. But because this particular individual, that's the only way I can work with it. Yeah. So every individual is different. I'm only kind of relying on this particular person, and I'm telling about the story. So I told him, go into the light. When you go into this beautiful light above you, and when you see that beautiful light in that, I wanted to go and touch it. Go and touch it. That's why there's meditation. That's why these sessions are open. So I brought him into that space. I walked him into the space for him to go and touch that beautiful light that he wants to see again. Right? I say, you're a light. You're present of light. If you believe in that, you'll be able to do that. I think we did it only once or twice. He was very clear after that. He said that nothing has left me, actually. But he was acceptable, because the minute he went there, he saw that, and then he felt it, and it was such a spiritual divine experience. He said that everything, as if he's born again. That's the feeling he said he had, like as if he's born again, and and everything is starting back again for him in life. That's what exactly he told me. So I don't know what was going in his head, but he said that he says that this is not the end. I'm going to meet her. This is not the end. I'm going to meet her. I said, definitely, all of us will have a chance, to meet our loved ones, because in this third day we are kind of under the universal law. We have certain things that we cannot see beyond, but it doesn't mean that it's not there.
Right.
Yeah. So it is existence. So what he does is, he said that he loved going in there. So he became just meditating every single time, right? But he was meditating on light and meditating. And when I saw him 7-8 months later, when I saw him, he came back. He says that, the grief is no longer there. I don't feel any pain in me anymore. I'm not now rejecting anything. I am being happy because of my human experience. And I think I know what's my mission, what I'm clearly here for. Yeah. So I'm going to finish off what she wanted me to do.
Oh, wow.
Okay. So there's something that that she always wanted to do, and she piled up some work on it, which I can't talk about. But now he's going to finish it for her. So now he wants to make sure that he can set it up for her, and he's going to do it.
Mm.
So when he was talking about it, he was crying because he says that he couldn't believe that she trusted him, that he, you know, I can't even believe that she trusted me in this, you know. He's the one who looked after the family. She's the one who looked after the children. She did everything. She put everything in checklists, and this is what she does for me. But at the end of the day, she trusted me so much. Every time I think that my partner doesn't trust me, but actually she trusted me so much. And I'm going to finish this for her. So sometimes in grief, you have to understand where's the light and what is this light that's left right now. Why the person has left right now, or, you know, instead of going into those questions, you have to ask the question, you know, where am I going from here? You know, I have been in existence with this person. You know, I have to do so much, because actually it's a very short period of time we are here for a human experience. Yeah. There's so much things we need to do. We need to finish off with. Yeah. And we need to catch up with a lot of things. We got no time to waste. As I said, that everything around you, the light, the love, everything around you is existing, is because nobody has left you. No past has left you, because they're still existing around us. They're still in us, you see. So nothing leaves as such. For me, the light merges with the light.
Beautifully said.
And we have that in our consciousness.
Yeah.
Okay. So he's doing well with his children, and amazingly spiritually progressing, you know, and very proud of within the short period of time how he adjusted everything. I think that's the reason I love about the geometry, is that by understanding where the specific individual is, you're able to kind of alleviate or let them know where they need to now see things. It's just about opening that door and say, hey, you've been in this room for too long. I'm just going to slightly open that door for you. Just step in and see for once. If you like it, you like it. If you don't like it, doesn't matter. Right. You know what? Every time when they go in, they like it. Yeah. You know, without fear. So that's the journey we are in. So I know there's a lot of people out there might have lost people, loved ones, pets, and all that. Always remember, they come into your life for a purpose, and they leave your life for a purpose, so that it will continue for them, you know. So that's the reason they trust, and then we have this agreement even before taking this human birth, right? So in understanding this, if you can take life take a step. You don't have to move fast like the others, even if something has happened in your life. Take baby steps, right? There's always help out there. Try to engage and find out why you are here and why this has happened to you, or what is the next step of your life is going to be, and why this particular loved ones or love, you know, pets or whatever has left you in this space. You know, there's always a meaning. There's always a meaning why something is taken off from you at that particular period of time. Okay. In understanding that, if you can just live in beautiful, you know, in the beauty of the love and compassion, and having that rhythm within your heart all the time, you know, you'll be able to just glide along in this earthly human experience, I would say.
Yeah, beautifully said. It's interesting, as you were talking, the analogy that came to my mind, or like the visual I had, was, you know, you see a block of ice, and then we watch that ice melt, and it's water. Like, the ice isn't gone, it's just transitioned. And then you take that water, you boil it, and it becomes steam. You see the steam, like the water's gone, now it's turned into steam, and then, you know, it disappears, but it never really disappears. It's just in a completely different state. And I think about that transition from, like, this physical body to me is like ice. And then, you know, there's this transition, you know, when this physical body passes. But yeah, you can't lose that energy. It's always around. And it's so beautiful to realize that, and that love can always be felt and is always, you know, everywhere. I lost my grandparents over the last couple of years, and I feel them around me, and it's so interesting at different times that, like, that energy, I feel it so clearly come in. And like, just this last weekend, I felt all this love around me. And I was actually making a recipe that my grandmother had taught me for like certain cookies, and like I could feel her there with me. Like it was just a beautiful thing. So the one thing I want to ask Nirmala, because the way you just described that, the perspective, I think can open up so many people, but I'm curious, like, why as a society do we not talk about loss? Like it's inevitable that, you know, this body will pass away. We know it's going to happen. There's no one getting out of here alive. And yet it's almost like taboo to talk about, or people are nervous to talk about, or why do you think it's like avoided?
Okay. I mean, death is not an interesting thing to talk about. It's like it's not it's not very um
Not very
yeah.
uplifting, but it could be uplifting. I don't know.
Um the reason a lot of people don't talk about is because death is kind of creating fear. Yeah. When you say tell someone if they're dying, the first thing hit them is fear. And you can't imagine how
Right.
that being would be feeling, right? So death is something that actually resonates with fear so clearly. But death is good. I mean, you know, we're saying that, but death is good, yeah, because we came here and we know one day this is going to happen and we have to leave. So we have to take that opportunity to do whatever we want to do, be in the happiest space instead of waiting. And there are some people who tell me I'm waiting for death. You know, I'm waiting for death. You know, so when you really look at it, you know, death is just taking you. Death is only for this human body. It's not for you.
Mm-hmm.
You are progressing. You're progressing after this. Yeah. So how you want to progress after this? Because this body will drop and then you're leaving this earth, whatever planets, dimensions, or whatever it's going to be. It's up to you what you're doing right now and where you're going to progress after this. It's a decision you've got to make now. So that's the reason it can be explained, but it depends. That's the reason yogis, masters, everyone talks about meditation. Meditation is going into this completely shutting down everything in silent space, where you're going into that oneness that you are no longer this body. So that's the practice of that, actually. when you're going into
I have
that,
never heard it described that way, but it makes sense.
I usually tell that that's actually practicing that. You know, that means you're no longer this body. You're completely out of this body into that blissful state. Move
Beautiful.
into that space. Yeah, isn't it? But the thing is that even as humans, no matter how many times we say, how many times we meditate, how many times we are describing all these things, when someone who's very close, loved one, goes away from you, we still miss that physical body consciousness that is completely missing of that person. That's true. That we have to accept it. Yeah, the missing part is definitely going to be that we cannot come out of it. But if we have this understanding, we won't fall into that and become. We won't start damaging ourselves. Understand the loved one is separate. Yeah. So we have to understand, we have to have the intelligence to understand what is death is all about. And also understand death is not something that, death is not completely that, it's the end. It's actually the beginning of your next, it's like going into a new career. Going on the next holiday, where is the next destination is going to be? What is it going to be? What am I going to do? It's a very interesting, but unfortunately, we are still humans, as I say, that we still have that. So death has always been based with fear, to answer your question. And that's the reason people don't want to talk about it. It's very difficult to something to talk about it. And when you're talking about it, you bring in their memories of their loved ones and everything starts, So
when you talk about it with the perspective that you have today, like I want to lean into that conversation because it's okay. So I'm making decisions now that are going to impact where I'm going next, and like, what's happening after we should be contemplating. To me, it seems like a topic that should be explored. So thank goodness for you. And we can explore it together.
Yeah, I mean, it would be a great topic to speak with the spiritual master.
Exactly.
With geometry, and I can explain what my geometry, because the geometry follows you. The geometry, because when you're looking at this beautiful geometry that's evolving around you all the time, it's not going to drop when this human body drops. It's still going to follow you. So you
Right.
got that support, you still got that vehicle that you're going to hold on to. Yeah. That's going to bring you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if everyone can understand their energy space where they're holding and what they're doing, that energy supports them. And if they can see it or hear it or feel it or some, or touch it, whatever senses they can use towards it, it is going to be remarkable that will become a great support in your human life, having your human experience at the same time, knowing that at the end of the time, we will understand what is coming, what is going, how we are moving.
Right. Yeah. Well said. And thank you. And those of you that are listening, if you have questions or comments or want to add into this conversation, please always do in the comment section. We look at them and we can integrate them into shows coming up as well if you have questions that we didn't get to today. So anything else before we wrap up, Nirmala?
No, I think that everybody live your life happily. Live at that very moment now. I think a lot of intelligent sources, intelligent people are talking about it. Live in the moment as now. Yeah, that is what is going to bring you forward. When you live in the now, your future is right in front of you. If you choose to be happy right now, your future is happy. It's all about happiness. Yeah, so just live happy, be in the state where you can always remove yourself and enjoy this beautiful earth that's created for us, and the nature and the beauty of having loved ones around you. So just bring yourself back. Don't bring anything else that that doesn't resonate with you, until the day says it's complete. Yeah, until then, enjoy your journey.
Beautifully said. Well,
Right. Thank you, Danielle. I think just to emphasize on that, I think that it has been a beautiful journey that we have started, and I think that we started for a reason, and I like the way that's going, because we start the podcast every time without knowing where we're going with it. Yeah. So, but we have a mission. We know that we are here to do something, and we said just throw it in and see what happens. Yeah. So we are going to have we are still going to be having a joyful harmony in this podcast. I know that.
Yeah. Well, I did today unexpectedly. Like, this has probably been my most favorite conversation. It's a topic that you wouldn't think would come out, beautifully, but yeah, it's a blast. I can't wait to see where we go. And for everyone listening, never forget the single truth. You are more than just your thoughts, and this secret, once known, will unlock everything for you. So welcome to this community of spiritual beings, all looking to amplify their human experience. And we are incredibly grateful for you tuning in. And remember to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and click the bell for notifications. Until next time, have a beautiful day.
Thank you.